like to, emphasize to them that they did the, they are alive and they're in my office, and so they did the right thing, whatever it was that they did. But I also have encountered a number of women who've taken self-defense classes as a way of building their own personal confidence and in ensuring that they are acting in a safe manner when they're out and about. And I think there's great value in that. The men that we saw in this documentary were taking advantage of vulnerable women, is what they were doing. And all of those women had some, whether they were old or young or impaired by alcohol or drugs, they were vulnerable women. And so being aware of self-defense and being able to protect yourself in a larger sense, I think, is important.
We certainly raised a lot of opinions. Yes, Marshall?
If I might, Denise, I first want to say that I'm not imposing guilt upon anyone who doesn't fight back. I mean, that's their prerogative. Of course, what I'm offering is an alternative. And especially, even if you want to run, you earn the right to run. And I'd like to ask Donna a question, if I may, please. Donna, as you are a law enforcement officer, may I ask you, you've had self-defense training.
Yes.
And if an attacker were to try and rape you, you would not fight back?
I've never been raped. I don't know what my reaction would be. Everybody would react different. For my own personal opinion, I know that almost every man that I work with, I cannot overpower them.
It's right. I agree. It's not a question necessarily of overpowering, but it's a question of gouging this may sound gruesome again, but gouging someone's eyes out, getting to their throat, or getting to another vulnerable area. Your eardrum won't stand more than a few pounds of pressure. A well-placed hit. Again, it's not easy to do that. I don't mean to mislead anyone with the word easy again here, okay? But practicing again and again, the same as you practice your tennis stroke, if you practice your blocking, if you practice your striking, these things are going to help you. And at that moment, we're all scared. Don't let me not mislead you again. I would be scared too if someone were trying to attack me. But because I continue to do this daily, I know that my first reaction would be to fight back. And I'm not imparting guilt upon anyone who doesn't fight back. I'm just saying that what I'm giving is the women another option.
Personally, I doubt if I'd fight back. I've seen what happens, and I really doubt it.
This has raised a lot of controversy here, and I think we have some more coming in on this phone line, so I'm going to answer this. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Do you have a question for our panel or a comment?
Yes, I do. I have a question, and I'm wondering if there are any statistics about the people that fight back, or how many women do fight back.
Marshall has brought some statistics with him, just in case someone asked for statistics, so we are prepared for your question.
This particular statistic comes from Self magazine, January 1991. Patricia Giggins, executive director of the Los Angeles Commission on Assaults Against Women, she says that any woman has a 50-50 chance of stopping an attack when she resists in any way. If she's properly trained in self-defense, she boosts her chances of successfully deterring an assault to 75%.
How many of the, or how long do you have to take the classes to be properly trained, to be considered properly trained?
That's an excellent question. Again, that's going to depend upon the individual. There's some very good programs that other people are offering out there. The particular program that I deal with in Carlsbad is a 6-week program. The students come twice a week, and by the end of those 12 sessions, they have a whole different feeling about themselves and what they would be able to do.
I'd like to ask you, caller, have you ever taken a self-defense class?
No, I haven't.
Is that something that you're interested in? Is that why you're calling?
I'm interested in it for myself and for my daughter who's in junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything available for kids that age?
I also teach a children's class besides an adults class, and it was very interesting, again, watching this program where the children were subjected to this terrible travesty, because what I teach the children in my class is that no one has the right to reach out and touch them.
Well, I'd like to follow up on that, if I may. We get a lot of calls at Women's Resource Center regarding self-defense classes. And I would always encourage someone, if they're so inclined, to take one. And I myself have even facilitated a self-defense class. But as a parent, I don't want a parent to teach self-defense to a child and think that they are going to be able to protect that child by doing that. I think as parents, we want our children to be safe, and we want to do whatever we can that's going to make them safe. And so I would encourage you to have your daughter take the self-defense class, but I think you also need to realize that there are going to be situations where she either may choose not to use it, or she might be too afraid, or for whatever reason. So you can also call Women's Resource Center and get referrals for self-defense classes, and I do thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Yes.
If I might, Denise, another misconception people have about self-defense is once they take a class that, some people think they have this invincibility about them. Immediately this shield goes around them. They can no longer be touched. That is not true. I don't care if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mike Tyson, and Bruce Lee all rolled into one. When you're involved in an altercation, you will get hit, and it does hurt. I tell people that time and again in classes about contact and pain, and that's what they learn in there. They're going to get hit, and it will hurt.
Okay, Charlotte, we've been talking a lot about the victims. I want to start talking about the rapists a little bit. Okay. We just met a man in this documentary that raped a woman who was 5 months pregnant, along with several other men. What could possibly motivate a man to do something like that?
When you hear of something like that, it is very puzzling. And there are, in fact, many reasons that may motivate a man to do something like that. But basically, it's an act of aggression. And sexuality is merely the means to express that aggression. It's essentially an abuse of power. We saw that very, very clearly with the children in the documentary. And as I said earlier, many of these women were very vulnerable. A woman who's 5 months pregnant is vulnerable physically. She has not only herself to think about, but she has the baby within her. And, he wanted to overpower her, to humiliate her, or to hurt her.
I've heard sometimes that rapists were molested as children or possibly even raped earlier in their life. Is that true?
Many of the men that I've worked with have that in their history. They were treated very badly as children. They were sexually assaulted themselves, or they had modeled to them the sexual assault of other people in their environments. When you look at research about adolescents who rape and physically assault other children, you find that there's a high incidence of sexual assault in their backgrounds.
We learned in the documentary that half of all rapists are going to rape again within 3 years after their release of prison. I have to tell you, as a woman and as a mother of 2 daughters, that really frightens me. If putting them in prison doesn't work, what is going to work?
My feeling about that is that not much is going to work. It's unfortunate, but people who rape actually become addicted to the rape as an act of releasing feelings for them. So the best bet for us as a society and us as women and as men, because men are raped as well as women, I think is early intervention into child abuse. I think if we treat child abuse and we treat adolescents who are having problems with acting out, we can intervene and stop the pattern before it really develops into a habit. Because when you arrest someone, you get their attention, and that's very important in the whole treatment process. But when they're in prison, they're out of the community, but that doesn't mean they're learning not to rape. They are, in fact, often learning how to further brutalize people. And it doesn't help their self-esteem any to be in prison. So we protect ourselves by putting them in prison, but we are not changing those men for the better by putting them in prison. So we have to work with kids. We have to work with families. We need to intervene at an early stage with adolescents if we're going to deal with this very serious problem.
I think we have another phone call, so... Hello, you're on the air. Do you have a question?
Yes, Denise. My problem is with my wife. She was sexually assaulted on the last 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that we have, she does not want to talk about it. She won't let me talk to, any of our friends about it. She just sort of wants to slip it out of sight, so to speak. But it's not going anywhere. It's sort of it's just getting worse. Our personal life is being torn apart. Yet there's no direction in which I can point her to get help, and she seems to have resentment towards me when I even try to hit upon that to get her to counseling or get us to counseling. And the last weekend has been Hamil with this Anita Hill thing too. As far as she thinks it's best not to say anything about it, but it's reflecting a lot of negative on our marriage.
I think this past week has brought up a lot of things for a lot of people. But first of all, I'd like to say that families and friends are sometimes very devastated by a sexual assault. And yet all of our attention sometimes goes to the victim, and the family and friends feel somewhat left out. And yet they love this person and they want to help this person and they don't know how. So I'm going to turn it over to our two counselors here, and possibly even Jeanette, if you have anything to tell this man as a survivor yourself. What would you tell a man that could have helped you?
Well, first I'll address the issue of your wife. You need to give her as much time as it takes. No victim can heal with, she has to do it on her own terms. She has to do it in her own time. It's just the way it is right now.
I would also suggest that he approach her very gently and lovingly about how it is affecting their relationship, and very supportively suggest that they get help, that it's not accusatory, or that it is really much better for her. She needs the support.
Yes. One thing also is what you're experiencing right now with her is that she's feeling a lot of guilt, and she doesn't want to talk about it because she's probably guilty or ashamed, or many number of reasons. You need to somehow bring that across to her, that you don't want to make her feel those things by talking about it, but that you need some time too, and you need to be with her also.
It seems to affect almost every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
She's not fixing herself up the way she was, and
well, when I was raped, I completely changed the way I looked. I was afraid to wear. I was wearing pants when I was raped. I was afraid to wear dresses, even there's no connection. It affects every aspect of a victim's life, every aspect.
Your suggestion is just to let it run its course, and just keep in support, and when the time's right, get into like the Women's Resource Center to talk to Bethany or something like that.
Well, my suggestion to you is maybe you to get help now.
Not to wait for her.
Yeah, to learn how to deal with her, because you need support too, or else you're not going to make it with her.
Also, I probably need help as far as not saying the wrong thing.
Well, I just mean that you're a loved one of someone that was raped, and I think that you need support also. I mean, you're an important part of this crime too. I think that you're going through some hard times too, and you need to have that recognized by someone.
And caller, you can.
She's in a lot more pain than ever I am.
Of course.
It pains me to see this, the way it's the self-destruction at this point.
Yeah.
So I think I understand is to kind of just hold back and let it go, and for me to get some sort of help in regards to addressing the problem.
I suggest that you call Women's Resource Center. If not tonight, our hotline is open right now. You can call them first thing in the morning and set up an appointment to come in for yourself. And I hope that we've helped you tonight, and thank you for calling.
Thank you.
We've got some more calls. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I was wondering what the typical male reactions to the rape of their wives or their girlfriends are, and what assistance or guidance do they need? It sounds like you've begun to talk about that. And is it common for their reaction of anger to accuse the victim of asking for it?
Mm-hmm. Let's focus on that part. Since we've answered some of those first questions of yours, I think that last part of your question is a real good place to focus. Do husbands and boyfriends ever have that reaction of, oh, she probably asked for it, she shouldn't have been wearing that, she shouldn't have been where she was? Do you find that happening?
Absolutely. if your wife or girlfriend has a car accident, who gets blamed, the wife or the girlfriend? And it's even worse in a rape. It's odd, but men don't like, none of us like to feel helpless. And it feels, when a woman is assaulted, the man feels helpless. Her girlfriend, her boyfriend, or husband feels helpless about affecting it.
Why doesn't he blame the attacker? Why is it so hard for a man to hold another man responsible for a rape? What's going on here? Because I see it all the time. What's going on here?
I think men have a variety of reactions to loved ones being raped or sexually assaulted, and that's kind of the worst case scenario, that he blames the woman for it. But I think what Bethany was saying about feeling helpless is a big part of it. The other thing is, what does he do with this rage? The analogy I use is if your child runs out into the street, you may grab them and then yell at them, because they've been in danger, and and you're scared because of that. And I think it's very much the same kind of thing, that a man's sense of security, his ability to protect his loved one, all of these things are very basic to his image of himself, and that is threatened when his wife is hurt or his girlfriend is hurt. He is frightened himself, and he lashes out. And I think that's what I most often see when men are angry about it.
Okay. Does that help you at all, caller?
Yes. How does the victim deal with that?
With the man's anger?
It's been the subject of now being, told that they've asked for it, a type of thing. How do they turn around and deal with having been lashed out at?
Well, I think that's a very difficult situation. I think that we were talking before about getting some counseling. I think sometimes men really, or loved ones, other people in the family who may be reacting in an angry way, really need some supportive counseling as well as some education. There's a lot of myths in our culture. There's a lot of myths. And if a good counselor can help clarify some of the real basic issues and what really happened. And they can do that with some objectivity.
All right, caller, we have another call coming in, but I thank you for calling, and I hope we've been able to help you out.
Good night.
Thanks. Hello, you're on the air. Do you have a question?
Yes, my name's Lois. I wonder what women can do to prevent being raped so they won't be as vulnerable as they have been in the past. What we can do to learn how to improve ourselves so we will not have or won't be raped in the future.
I want to jump in here on this, because this is a question that I am so often asked. And if I could make a list of 100 things to do, and if you do all these 100 things to do on this list, you'll never be raped, I'd be very successful professionally. The fact is that I could make a list of 100 things to prevent it, and you could do those 100 things, and you might still be raped. So I want to begin the discussion by saying that. But certainly we've talked about vulnerability tonight. I think that a stronger, more assertive, more capable woman is going to be less likely to be raped. We've talked about drug and alcohol abuse, making a woman more vulnerable. What other ideas do you have as far as prevention?
Go in pairs. Do not walk by yourself at night or in the morning. Walk with a friend or, two friends, the buddy system.
Any ideas from Marshall?
Of course, you want to stay in well-lighted areas. You want to maintain verbal contact with people at all times. If you're in the supermarket and you're going to go out to your car by yourself, you tell the checker, look, I'm going out to my car and by myself. Will Ralph read his name tag? The box boy, will he accompany me to my car? Do not be afraid to further yourself by latching on to someone else. There's power in numbers, of course.
As we talk about these ideas, though, I really have to comment that, and for the men watching tonight, we live our lives completely differently as women. It would be ludicrous for a man to go up to a box boy in a supermarket and say, would you walk me out to my car? And that's just a quick comment on the fact that as women, we tend to live our lives completely different than men do. Okay, thank you, caller, for calling.
Thank you.
8 out of 10 rapes are committed by someone that the victim knows, and rape is only one form of violence used in an abusive relationship. Women's Resource Center operates a shelter for battered women and their children. A camera crew from Daniels Cable Vision recently visited that shelter.
My name is Karen Poulter-Keys. I'm the shelter administrator for the Women's Resource Center, Battered Women's Shelter in Oceanside, California. The women can stay here for a period of 30 days. During that time, they receive counseling services, also case management services. We help them looking for apartments, looking for jobs, help them with medical needs, enrolling their children in school and things like that. Also, if they need to stay here longer than 30 days, that is possible. We can grant extensions 1 week at a time. Sometimes people are waiting for a job to come through, or they're waiting to get into an apartment on the first of the month, or waiting for a check. And so we work with them on an individual basis. The typical battered woman isn't just one type of background or one different race. Alternatives to Abuse is the name of our shelter, and the reasoning for that is the women can come here and through counseling and educational programs find out that they do have choices that they can make so that they don't have to stay in a bad family situation where there is violence going on. This facility is for women who are victims of abuse. We also have services at our main agency that are provided to men who are abusers and who need help. And we provide counseling services, both individual and group counseling, for men who are interested in working on their problems. A lot of our ladies, once they leave the program, are looking at finding jobs, relocating into a different area where they feel safe, possibly finding new apartments, new schools for their children, and starting all over again as far as a new life for them and their children. A lot of women that we work with don't feel like they deserve anything better. They've been in this bad situation for a long time, and their self-esteem is really poor. One of the main things we want to accomplish is to show them, you don't have to be treated this way. You don't have to be in fear every day of your life that you're going to be hurt or your children are going to be hurt. You can be happy and you can be safe. And one of the main things we want to show them is that they're an important person. They deserve better, and we're going to be working with them to help them explore different avenues so that they can have a better lifestyle for themselves and their children.
I'm Denise Fry, Director of Community Relations for Women's Resource Center. 4 women are beaten to death every day in this country, not by strangers, but by the men that they love. The violence that often results in these deaths include emotional abuse and even sexual abuse. If you or if someone you know is in a violent relationship, I urge you to call Women's Resource Center's 24-hour hotline. That number is 757-3500. Marshall, do you have any closing comments tonight?
Simply that I encourage everyone watching to get involved in a quality self-defense program, especially women and children.
How about you, Bethany?
I recommend that women get the help that they need at the time of the rape or as soon as possible. Don't run away from it. It won't go away by itself.
Kate?
I would just say that call the police immediately and know that there's experienced people waiting there to help you and guide you through.
Okay. And Charlotte?
I would encourage the men who have been sexually assaulted to call for help, to not hide their. I think we know that the rape of women is very underreported, but the rape of men or the sexual abuse of men is even more so.
And Donna?
I'd like to point out that there are 3 aspects to a rape. There's anger, power, and sexuality, and that we in San Diego County do not handle cases as Memphis does. We have progressed to the point where we understand.
And Jeanette, what do you want to say? What do you want to say to people out there watching who might have experienced themselves or maybe have people that they love who are going through the trauma?
Well, I just want to tell the victims out there that it gets better. With some time and an excellent counselor and the support of people around you, it does get better. I lost everything when I was raped, and it's coming back. Not the same, but it's coming back close to what it was.
The point needs to be made that women are not the only victims of rape, that men and boys are raped as well. As much of a stigma that rape carries for women, it may be even greater for men. While we have focused tonight on female victims, much of the discussion would apply to males as well. We urge any men watching who have been sexually assaulted to call Women's Resource Center at 757-3500 for support and referrals. Tonight we have examined the problem of rape. We have taken a step towards a solution to that problem by openly discussing an issue that is all too often kept hidden away. From now on, I hope that when you read about a rape in the newspaper or hear about it on the evening news, that you will be affected, that you will know that yet another woman's life has been violated, that it will take time, courage, and support from the people around her for the wounds to heal, because rape shouldn't have to last a lifetime. I'm Denise Fry. Good night, and thank you for joining us.